ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you to the Infinite Revenue Flywheel, created by yours truly. Okay, I'm going to take you through everything that you would need to know in your business, especially if you run appointments and you have to operate a sales team and sales pipeline. This is going to apply to you even more so. Pay attention real quick. So if you're home services, your coaches, consultants, you're again running appointments of any sort, then this is good. We use this in our companies. One of them, like a franchise sales org, we use the same thing because it sells through a sales pipeline and sales appointments. And so same thing. This is truly a flywheel that will give you infinite revenue and allow you to grow, assuming you have one thing, which is a great product. So this is assuming you have a great product, what people want. You can't just pull stuff out of your butt and hope that it's going to work, okay? You got to have a good product first and test that, and then now you've got it, you have to go through this process and create constant revenue. It starts here with your attention engine. These are all the ways to get attention. I've highlighted, those are supposed to be lightning bolts. These are the fast ways right now. This is why most people do these at first. However, they're some of the most expensive ways to do it as well. Door-to-door is not expensive up front. Usually that's commission, but it's highly expensive on the back end, right? Because you got to pay that large commission. But all of these are pretty expensive. Cold calling, you got to set it all up. That's probably not that expensive. It just depends on how you go about it. That's probably one of the best ones right now. Door-to-door has always been good. Cold email, not my favorite, but hey, you can go get some leads. Meta ads, one of my favorite if you have some money and you'd rather not trade it through door-to-door and time. You can run some Google ads, YouTube ads, same thing. These other ones are highly reliable and good. They just take time. It doesn't mean you should skip them. Like customer referrals, you got to build that up. You can go probably get a couple referrals right now, but then you're out, right? But if you built up a program, it's constant for you to get the attention. And then referral partners. These are companies usually for that you're getting referrals from constantly, and you pay them for referrals or just trade referrals. Okay, great. I don't think you should do all these. That's one of the questions I get the most, like, hey, I don't have time or money to do all of those. Just pick the ones you think are best. I can't tell you what they are unless I knew your business, but you probably do know. You also have a thing called ChatGPT or any kind of, like Gemini, use it and say, here's my business model, here's my product, here's my customers, which ones should I use out of these right now to get immediate results in the least expensive way possible. That's a good prompt, and see what it gives you, right? At least you'll get a starting point to make some decisions. I would say just start with 2 to 3 of these, whatever you choose. Sometimes just one. All right, the whole goal of the attention engine is to get them to capture leads or become a lead. Capture leads just means they're no longer just some stranger looking at your stuff. They actually raised their hand, they filled out a form, that's supposed to be a form, or they said, here's my phone number or something, okay? This could be even, I didn't put on here, and it's a great lead source for some of you, like trade shows and expos, that could be down here. You go in and you get their information. You put them into your CRM, your system. Some of you that are going slow, you put them into a spreadsheet or your phone. I'll forgive you. But you know, that's the dummies out there that don't like to use their brain. Hint, hint, I'm being rude on purpose here. Go get a CRM. Go do something that's worthwhile here. So like if you're gonna make all this effort, you better put it into a system that captures the leads, you get them in there, it organizes them. Awesome, but you're not done, it's just sitting there. You gotta start contacting them, right? And you can do this in automated ways, but I wanna show you overall what's happening is this is supposed to be a call center person or somebody on your team. We call them setters, and they reach out to the customers. But you can also automate all of this. So everything I'm saying does not mean just manual or just automation. It means whatever you're doing to contact, you're using SMS, email, phone, DMs, because they might have come through social media. So if they came through social media, you would DM them as well. Voicemail drops, that's VM. Voicemail, like you're calling, but you're doing voicemail drops and leaving those. You might even do direct mail to contact them. Now that they're a lead, you can give them a more direct offer, special offer, right? Now, here's the thing. You're gonna go down 2 paths at this point. This is just the contacting stage. They're not even really in your sales pipeline officially. They're in your contacting and setting pipeline, if you will, but they're not in the sales pipeline. So here's what you do. If you don't contact them after you made a strong effort, let's just call it strong effort, they're going to go down this path, and I'll tell you how that works. If you do contact them, let's assume the yes path, meaning it's all working out. Yes, you captured a lead. Yes, you set a sales appointment. So if you close with sales appointments, this is supposed to be a little calendar. You booked an appointment. Awesome. So you set the appointment. That's great. They did their job, and the system did its job. What happens is that's when it officially enters the sales pipeline. This is what I call active selling. Active selling. This is supposed to be columns with like a pipeline, these little opportunity cards. I know my drawings suck, but still, here it is, your sales pipeline. You're actively selling. They're going from stage to stage to stage. But not everyone, as you know, buys. In fact, not everyone from here opts in. And everybody that opts in, not everyone contacts. Not everyone that you contact and set an appointment with, or that you contact even sets an appointment, right? There's all these fall-offs every step of the way. Not everyone that you set an appointment will even show up to their appointment. And not everybody that shows up to their appointment will even say yes and buy, right? So you gotta have, there's these assumptions, those are like leaks in a bucket. And you're always trying to fill those and optimize all those conversion rates. Now, let's assume the yes path again. They say yes, they bought. Okay, if they bought, they go up this little path and they become a new customer, and you give them the great new customer experience. That's not what this video is about. This video is about the flywheel that gets them to here. Okay, so why is this a flywheel? Well, it's always assuming the no, actually, in the sense of automation and pipeline, and never letting a single lead that you capture escape this flywheel without saying, leave me alone forever, right? And so here's what happens. If they don't buy here, you see they come into this passive prospect list. That's just a list of, you've segmented them. Our CRM, like I always teach, get your CRM to segment these automatically, but assume you know what I'm talking about. Just like, hey, I have this list of passive people. They did not say yes. They're not going to live here forever. You mark these opportunities as lost. If you understand how to use a sales pipeline, the only thing open here that is on your dashboard of sales in your pipeline, your sales rep should only be working open deals and have their attention on that. They should not be like, have a list over here that says follow up. That's dumb. You put them on a list. This is a pipeline. The two are entirely different. One's, if you do it the wrong way, you have all these weird overbloated pipeline stages. I just looked at a pipeline that had like 15 stages, and I was like, and they thought they were smart with it. And I get they're trying to use their brain, but they're not. They're not using their brain in a way that makes sense. They were making it hard for their reps to even close more deals. You know what I mean? Many of you have that. I would say there's 7 main stages, by the way, that you would have in your sales pipeline, and that's it for most of you. 7 stages. And hint, hint, don't use one as closed, guys. Closed is not a stage, it's a status. Change your deal to 1, and it is 1. You don't have to have a stage for closed, okay? So the point is you have only active sales pipeline here. Then if they don't buy, and you've given them the time needed, let's say they're in this pipeline for 30, 60 days, whatever it is, it says, all right, the deal's done for now. It's gone cold. Mark it as lost. When you mark it as lost, or your disposition is lost, it's still on your pipeline. It just disappears in the background. And it also gets added to this passive prospect list. Okay, so here we are. I'm about to enter the LTFU system plus promotions. But before I do that, notice there's this blue arrow. Well, remember back here on contacting? Under contacting, you have this, you're contacting them, you're doing all this, but you don't get a hold of them, or you don't set the appointment. Let's just say that. You might get a hold of them, you're following up with them, and they're just kind of ghosting you at this point. And anybody that showed interest or none at all, but never got here, they're going to go to the long-term follow-up system too. So this is very important, okay? Because it manages the flywheel afterwards. And we'll get to each step. But that's how come either they become a customer, they get into the long-term follow-up somehow, or they became a customer through your sales pipeline. Got it? All right, long-term follow-up system. That's what LTFU stands for. And it says plus promos, meaning running promotionals. These are season promotions. These are different campaigns you might run to get somebody to raise their hand and buy something small, perhaps, and then you get them into your system. And if they do, by the way, they'll follow this process to get back into your sales pipeline, and it just keeps going. See this? It keeps going. It keeps going. Hence, flywheel. But now and again, it spits out one more customer. And then it keeps going. And spits out another one, keeps going, and it has hundreds of people going through this, then thousands, then tens of thousands, and it becomes this massive flywheel that generates infinite revenue flywheel. Got it? That's why I'm calling it that. So back to here, or long-term follow-up system. You have, what this is this system is automated. This is not your reps at all. The only time a rep gets involved with this is if they're a setter, they're done contacting any of the fresh leads that are in here, and now they have an extra list of people that are engaging, and I'll show you how this works. It's pretty cool. And the system is looking for engagement and scoring them. And then if they meet a score, it'll add them to a list for these guys to contact. Let me go in detail. So this system is doing this. It's sending out emails, SMS, sometimes phone calls, like I just said, only when they meet a score. And it's also watching their browsing history, but it's looking for engagement. And actually, phone call is incoming phone call is what I meant by that. So this is a reply to emails, a reply to SMS, a reply to phone, or there's looking at funnels. Like if you're running promos and they look at the page, they never buy, but they look at it. That is them maybe interested. Is looking for clicks on these things, on emails and SMS. It's looking for replies to those. It's looking for all those calls and page visits. Got it? That's what that means. If that happens, or as that happens, you have what's called a call readiness score, 0 to 100. And it is increasing, just like this little thing is, increasing that score gradually. However, as they age in that system too, the longer it goes without them buying or booking an appointment, we also remove points from their call readiness score. So it's constantly going up and down. But if it accelerates at a higher rate, it triggers them onto the BAFU, behavioral accelerated follow-up. So based on their behavior, we accelerate follow-up. Got it? So based on that behavior, wow, cool. This score triggers this. We add them to a priority contact list that shows up for your setters while they're already contacting. They just have a separate segmented list that these are priority contact, that basically these are engaged, hot list, call them now. Got it? So do you see how that just constantly recycles itself? They go through and they come here. So let me zoom out a little bit. Infinite flywheel, that's what we start with, the attention engine. This is constantly running to generate new interest, new attention. We're always capturing leads as many ways as possible. This could be on your website, a landing page, texting, calling, emailing, expos where they enter their name to win something. But these usually this is where you capture all the leads. I don't want to go into this, but you can get fancy with lead magnets and everything else. Lead magnets are free things you give away, or free samples, or free whatever. Then now they're a lead. You actually have their contact information, at least a name and an email, and hopefully like a mobile phone, and hopefully in depending on what you offered, you could ask for more information, but usually it's name, email, phone. Okay. Now you can contact them, right? SMS, email, phone. If you also, again, they go through this process, depending on where they came from over here, you might have DM information as well. And if you really contacted them, and you can actually do some direct mail if possible. Direct mail is kind of a last resort that you use if they're super engaged and you want to get them and fully engaged, then you might want to run some direct mail, okay, on the contacting. But either way, your team's contacting. Picture them calling them from these lists. What's cool about this, by the way, I don't want to go, I could do a full training on this, is you want to have a very specific set of segmented lists that your team dials to and calls and emails based on priority, based on this call readiness score. You're never just saying call everybody that reaches here, because some people are not even close to ready, and no matter how many times you call them, in fact, you become an annoying pest instead of a welcome guest. What you want to do is, based on their readiness score, they're telling you they're slightly interested. Now you can become a welcome guest because they're already engaging, right? It's okay now to reach out and call, all right? So that's how this whole system works. And that right here is the Infinite Revenue Flywheel. The cool part is we build this. I built this in all of my companies. We have it inside of CRMX. We've built each one of these systems. Each one of these things is like, that's a system, right? That's a system, a contacting system. The sales pipeline, getting that dialed in is super important. Having passive lists that are like segmented correctly, super important, so that when you do the long-term follow-up, having this in long-term follow-up is hyper important. having all the preset emails, the right engagement, writing the emails correctly, writing the SMS correctly. It's a system on its own. Then you have to build a call readiness score. You have to, it's not like just built into CRMs. You have to actually tell it what is ready based off of these things, and you have to give it a score. We build that system. Then it triggers this behavioral accelerated follow-up, which is a system that you build, and it adds them to this list. And then you're back here. So if you count these, you would have a system here, 1, 2. You have a calendar system. We didn't talk about that, but a good calendar rotation system and segmenting. 3, sales pipeline. 4, 5, all your segmented lists. You have a long-term follow-up contacting system. 6, then you have engagement system, looking for engagement, and readiness score, that we'll call that all 1. That's 7. It triggers the behavioral accelerated follow-up, which is 1, and with putting them on it. So that's 8 different systems that work together. When you plug these in and work together, it becomes a massive machine, a flywheel, the Infinite Revenue Flywheel. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you got something out of it. Go build this.